Hi students, in this video we are going to see about basic concepts of electronics, like what are the elements present in the atom and how the valence electron and the valence orbit are considered. Likewise, we are going to see about in this video. As we all know, atom is the smallest particle of matter. It consists of neutron, proton, which is positively charged, and electron, which is negatively charged. According to Bohr's theory, atoms have planet-like structure, which is nothing but the planets are revolving the sun. Next, the atom has proton and neutrons are bound together at the center, which is called as nucleus. The nucleus is present at the center of the atom. Electrons are revolving around the nucleus like planets are revolving the sun in various orbits and shell. Each orbit or shell contain 2 into n squared number of maximum electrons. Small n is the number of orbit. For example, for first orbit, small n is equal to 1. So, the number of maximum electrons will be 2 into 1 power square, which is equal to 2. So, the first orbit must have contain maximum number of electrons is 2. If we going to see about second orbit, small n is equal to 2. That is the maximum number of electrons will be present in the second orbit is 2 into 2 power 2, which is 8. Likewise, we can calculate the maximum number of electrons present in the each orbit and shell. Sometimes the question will be asked like how many number of maximum electron will be present in orbit number 3. So we can use this formula 2 into n power squared. Small n is equal to 3, which is given in the question. Then the answer will be 3 power squared is equal to 9. 9 into 2, 18. So in the orbit of orbit number 3, the maximum electrons will be present is 18. Next, we gonna move to important concept. The electrons in the first or close orbit to the nucleus is tightly bound to the nucleus when compared to the electrons present in the other orbit or shell which is far from the nucleus. The electrons in the first shell and second shell are tightly attracted by the nucleus or tightly bounded to the nucleus when compared to the electrons present in the fourth or fifth and sixth shell. So we can conclude like this: the first or closest orbit electrons are very tightly bound to the nucleus, and the last shell electrons are loosely bound to the nucleus, and those electrons are known as valence electrons. I repeat it once: the electrons which is present in the last orbit is known as valence electron, and the last orbit is known as valence shell. From this atom diagram, you can see the nucleus which consists of protons and neutrons together, which is present in the center of the atom, and the orbits having electrons revolving around the nucleus. This is the basic structure of atom. The revolving path is known as shell or orbit. The electrons are present in the orbit which are revolving around the nucleus. The outermost shell is known as valence shell, and the electrons present in the valence shell is known as valence electrons, which are loosely bounded to the nucleus. The valence electrons are loosely bounded to nucleus, so it can absorb some small amount of heat or light energy to become free electrons. As we all know, the flow of electrons is nothing but current. So, in semiconductor devices, these free electrons cause the flow of current. Usually, silicon is used as a semiconductor in integrated circuits. The silicon is group 4 element, which means the group 4 element atom contains 4 electrons in their valence shell, which is nothing but 4 valence electrons. Silicon atoms are bounded by covalent bond. That is, one atom, silicon atom electrons is bounded with next silicon atom electrons. You can see in the image there are 6 silicon atoms each having 4 valence electrons. The 4 valence electrons are bounded by covalent bond with the next silicon atom. Since all of its valence electrons form covalent bond, there is no free electrons in the silicon atom. So it is said to be pure silicon or semiconductor, which is known as intrinsic semiconductor, that is pure semiconductor. To increase the conductivity of pure semiconductor, some impurities can be added. The impurities are named as dopants. The dopants may be from group 3 or group 4. The dopants to be added to the silicon, this process is known as doping. Adding dopants to the pure semiconductor or intrinsic semiconductor is known as doping. Dopants from group 5 like antimony having 5 valence electrons. When group 5 dopant is added to silicon, 4 valence electrons of silicon and 4 valence electrons of antimony can form the covalent bond. The fifth electrons of antimony is loosely bound to the nucleus, so it can absorb some heat or light energy to become free. To increase the current or conduction, we have to increase the number of free electrons. This type of semiconductor is known as n-type semiconductor. The reason is the free carriers, which is electrons, are negatively charged. If we adding group 3 element as dopant like boron, it having 3 valence electrons. When it is added to silicon, 3 valence electrons of silicon and 3 valence electrons of boron are formed covalent bond, and the 4th valence electrons of silicon is bounded to a void space which is left in the boron. This void space carries the positive charge, which is named as holes. So this type of semiconductor is known as p-type semiconductor. The reason is the p-type semiconductor having the majority charge carriers are holes which is positively charged. So this semiconductor is known as p-type semiconductor. From the diagram, you can see the difference between n-type semiconductor and p-type semiconductor. In n-type semiconductor, 5th valence electron is left free. That is, the free electrons or free charge carriers are electrons. In p-type semiconductor, one void space is left free. So the void space defines the holes which is positively charged. So the name n-type semiconductor and p-type semiconductor is based on the majority charge carriers in that semiconductor. This we can summarize: the n-type semiconductor having majority carriers as electrons and the minority carriers are holes. In the p-type semiconductor, the majority charge carriers are holes and the minority charge carriers are electrons. When we join p-type and n-type semiconductor, it forms a junction between both p-type and n-type semiconductor. This like structure is known as p-n junction diode, which is act as a switch. From the diagram, you can see the diode structure. The p-type and n-type semiconductor is joined. Central line is referred to as junction. Biasing means applying external DC voltage to the diode. Biasing means applying external battery or DC voltage to the diode. If we give the positive terminal of the DC voltage or battery to the p-type semiconductor and the negative terminal of the battery is connected to the n-type semiconductor of the diode to be forward bias. The silicon diode requires a minimum forward voltage of approximately 0.7 voltage to turn on the device, which is known as threshold voltage. I repeat it once. The minimum voltage required to switch on the device is known as threshold voltage. For silicon diode, the threshold voltage is 0.7. For germanium diode, the threshold voltage is 0.3 volts. Forward bias, the diode is in on condition, that is turn on. If negative terminal of DC voltage or battery is connected to p-type semiconductor and the positive terminal is connected to n-type semiconductor, means the diode is in reversed bias, which means the diode is off condition. In forward bias, depletion region decreases. The depletion region usually forms near the junction. In forward bias, the depletion region decreases and the majority carriers of n-type semiconductor electrons are moved from n-type to p-type. So the conventional current is that is battery current is flow from p-type to n-type because the p-type is connected to the positive side of the battery. You have to remember this, the flow of electrons, the direction of flow of electron is opposite to the flow of conventional current. The conventional current is nothing but battery current, which is always flow from positive side to negative side. That is positive side of the battery to the negative side of the battery. So in forward bias, the electron flow is from n-type to p-type and the conventional current is from p-type to n-type. In reversed bias, the depletion region near the junction, the width of the depletion region increases, so no majority carrier current will be flow. But some minority carrier current, that is electrons in the p-type, can flow from p to n. But there is no conventional current flow from n to p because the depletion region width increases. It blocks the conventional current flow, which means in reversed bias, the device is off. Thank you.